Peace and blessings. Okay. Wow. You must have been right there waiting to click on it. I was like, wait a minute. I had to look for a second. I was like, wait, did I tell you this? Did I shut this down from yesterday? It looked like he was already in the room. Okay, hold on. Come on in the room. Okay. All right, beautiful people. I'm getting myself a little prep here. I did a little prep before I actually hit it. So I'm just ready to go right now. This together here. Anybody get a chance to spot the new moon? Greetings, greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. It's been raining and cloudy here the last few days. I was out looking, I couldn't see anything in the sky. I kept checking quite a few times too. I wasn't seeing nothing, but I didn't check to see if anybody else had saw it either. I just kind of kept checking. But I'm gonna check again today and see if there were see if anybody spotted it yesterday. But it could have been, but I definitely couldn't see it. And according to the electronic calculations, we should have seen it last night. But like I said, we're gonna stop kind of depending on the electronic version and actually going out there checking ourselves. So but I'm gonna check around to see if anybody else, if like there are multiple sightings of it last night in places where it was not rainy and cloudy, then sure enough it showed. But I just couldn't see it here. It was like the sky was like gray. I couldn't see anything. Oh, Betwabu, Shayla, Betwabu, Trina, hey, Levon, top of the day. All right, beautiful people. What time here? Oh, 7:30, right on the dot. I came in like I had already started doing some of my prep before I actually came on live today. So I'm ready to go. So let's start with the Shema. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. Shalom, shalom, Josiah. All right, let's go ahead and get started here with the reading for today. We are doing Numbers 28, 29, and 30. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Yahuwah said to Moses, give these instructions to the people of Israel. The offerings you present as special gifts are a pleasing aroma to me. Hold on, did we read this? Did we read 28? It's starting off the same. Hold on. We didn't read 28. Okay. 27. Back to 25 and 26. It's probably because I read over 28 so many times where it seemed like I read it out loud. Tiffany, hey, Sawabona. Okay, I don't, we did it. It's just, I guess I listened to it so much in the last couple of days that it seems like I read it out loud. Okay, I'll start over. Yahuwah said to Moses, give these instructions to the people of Israel. The offerings you present as special gifts are a pleasing aroma to me. They are my food, right? Sacrifices, Yahuwah says again, they are my food. See to it that they are brought at the appointed times and offered according to my instructions. Say to the people, this is a special gift you must present to Yahuwah as your daily burnt offering. And for those of you that don't know, remember, Yahuwah say when something is food for him, he also means that when you give that food to him, he's going to then turn it around and give it right to to Levi, right, to the priests, right, those who have charge of the temple. So he said it's my food, but he can choose to do with his food whatever he want to do with it. Like he said, bring me the best, and he said in turn, Levi, since you have charge of my temple, I'm going to take what they give is most precious to me. I'm then going to take that and give it to you. You are most precious to me. I'm your portion. You're my portion, right? All right. Say to the people, this is a special gift you must present to Yahuwah as your daily burnt offering. You must offer 2 one-year-old male lambs with no defects. Sacrifice 1 lamb in the morning and the other in the evening. With each lamb you must offer a grain offering of 2 quarts of choice fine flour mixed with 1 quart of pure olive oil pressed with olives. This is the regular burnt offering instituted at Mount Sinai as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. Along with it, you must present the proper liquid offering of 1 quart of alcoholic drink with each lamb. Pour it in the holy place as an offering to Yahuwah. Offer the second lamb in the evening with the same grain offering and liquid offering. It too is a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. Okay? Alright. Your foot feel a little better? Okay. Alright now. You want to sit up here with me, or you want to go prop your foot up in there? Okay. And if you feel like you got to go, you just went to the bathroom, right? Okay. Just how I woke up this morning, talking about he felt like he had to throw up. I'm like, okay. So he said he all right. He didn't throw up, but he just, so he shouldn't. Oh, you did? You wash your face and brush your teeth? Okay, cool. All right, cool. All right. Sit down. Your stomach feel better? Okay. Yeah. I think he ate something last night. All right. Yeah, he can't really do dairy much. But I made some macaroni and cheese last night with real dairy and everything. Yeah, he had some, so that's probably what it is. I'm almost sure that's what it is. Okay. On the first day of each month, present an extra burnt offering to Yahuwah of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These must be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour, moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with each bull, 4 quarts of the ram, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each lamb. This burnt offering will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. You must also present a liquid offering with each sacrifice, 2 quarts of wine for each bull, 1/3 of a gallon for the ram, and 1 quart for each lamb. Present this monthly burnt offering on the first day of each month throughout the year. On the first day of each month, you must also offer 1 male goat for a sin offering to Yahuwah. This is in addition to the regular burnt offering and its accompanying liquid offering. On the 14th day of the first month, you must celebrate Yahuwah's Passover. On the following day, the 15th day of the month, a joyous 7-day festival will begin, but no bread made with yeast may be eaten. This first day of the festival will be an official day for holy assembly, and no ordinary work may be done that day. As a special gift, you must present a burnt offering to Yahuwah, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These will be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour, moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with each bull, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each of the 7 lambs. You must also offer a male goat as a sin offering to purify yourselves and to make yourselves right with Yahuwah. Present these offerings in addition to your regular morning burnt offerings. On each of these 7 days of the festival, this is how you must prepare the food offering that is presented as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. These will be offered in addition to the regular burnt offerings and liquid offerings. The seventh day of the festival will be another official day for holy assembly, and no ordinary work may be done on that day. At the festival of the harvest, when you present the first of your new grain to Yahuwah, you must call an official day for holy assembly, and you may do no ordinary work on that day. Present a special burnt offering on that day as a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. It will consist of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs. These will be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour, moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with each bull, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each of the 7 lambs. Also offer 1 male goat to purify yourselves and make yourselves right with Yahuwah. Prepare these special burnt offerings along with their liquid offerings in addition to the regular burnt offerings and its accompanying grain offering. Be sure that all the animals you sacrifice have no defects. So we got to realize they were offering more food and every day because everybody was there. I think I missed Dana's question yesterday. I didn't see it till after we got off. I don't know. Sometimes there's a lag in the comments on Facebook. And she made a mention yesterday about the offerings being offered every day. I think she said these are to be done every day. But yeah, during festival times, feast times, there's to offer like everybody, a lot of them. And it seems like that's a whole lot. Why? Because everybody has come together for the family reunion. So it's a lot of people that got to eat. So there's a lot of meat and stuff that had to be sacrifice, right? I say sacrifice because remember, they're not sacrifice for the sake of sacrifice. We're gonna kill us an animal today. No, sacrifice in order they're slaughtering the meat. You can look at the priests like they're the butchers, right? But they're the ones that actually make sure that the meat is prepared. It is clean. It is prepared appropriately so the people only eat the best portions of the meat. You don't drink any of the blood. It's all drained out like so, like that, like Tabitha Brown said. You make sure you do it like this and make sure you clean it real good. Wash all the parts real good. Then you go ahead. And if it's a sin offering, you don't season it. He will say don't season nothing. Sin, no. He said, but everything else, you go ahead, season it. Get the flour and the oil together and everything. You can get you a little bit of wine. Let's have us a good time here. Come in my presence. We all gonna have a party, right? Okay. So, next chapter. Numbers chapter 29. Celebrate the festival of trumpets each year on the first day of the appointed month in early autumn. You must call an official day for holy assembly, and you may do no ordinary work. On that day, you must present a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. It will consist of one young bull, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These must be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with the bull, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each of the 7 lambs. In addition, you must sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering to purify yourselves and make yourselves right with Yahuwah. These special sacrifices are in addition to your regular monthly and daily burnt offerings, and they must be given with their prescribed grain offerings and liquid offerings. These offerings are given as a special gift to Yahuwah, a pleasing aroma to him. 10 days later, on the 10th day of the same month, you must call another holy assembly. On that day, the Day of Atonement, the people must go without food and must do no ordinary work. You must prepare a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. It will consist of 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These offerings must be accompanied by the prescribed grain offerings of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts of choice flour with the bull, 4 quarts of choice flour with the ram, and 2 quarts of choice flour with each of the 7 lambs. You must also sacrifice 1 male goat for a sin offering. In addition to the sin offering, Okay. This is in addition to the sin offering of atonement and the regular daily burnt offering with its grain offering and their accompanying liquid offerings. What day have you calculated Passover to be this year? You know what? I got pre-calculated dates, but remember I said with the whole, um, I'm almost certain maybe that my day may be off at least by a day, but I'm not saying that for sure, but I'm just, as we get closer to it, like as we get into the new month, like we just went into the 12th month. After this month is over and we actually get into the first month of the year, about the middle time of March, I can tell you spot on what day it's going to be. But we gotta call the new we gotta call the new moon first. I just, I like I said, I done went and pre-calculated all my dates throughout here, and it threw me off last month, right? So when we get to the new moon of the first month, Dana, I can tell you for sure it's gonna be on the 14th day. After we see the new moon, it's gonna be the 14th day. So once we get to the new moon, I can tell you for certain what day Passover is gonna be and what day the Feast of Unleavened Bread is gonna be. Right? Okay. So we still got about a month. We just entered into the 12th month. Okay. 5 days later, on the 15th day of the same month, yeah. Now it may listen. It may still fall on the day that I calculated. It really may. It's just like sometimes because some months are longer and some. Well, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, some months are longer, some are shorter. But also the transition of the moon days are sometimes, from what I see, sometimes it's 1 day. Sometimes it's 2 days. Sometimes it look like it's 3 days, right? The transition. So I haven't quite figured out the math on how to calculate that 100% with the transition days of the moons. And that's precisely why even when we read in Jubilees, it tells us because of these days, the transition days that are not counted in the month, but they are counted in the year count of the days, like with the sun. He said men go wrong because of these days. So I think that's why we need to wait to calculate it when we actually can lay our eyes on it, right? Electronics and the automatic calculation is a wonderful tool, but we kind of make errors sometimes, especially if we calculate one of these transition days wrong throughout the year, right? So I ain't that savvy yet, the way I like program software and can, I ain't got that far yet, y'all. I wish I could, have a mind of a genius, but I still need to manually go out there and put my eyes on it. So, yeah, it threw me off. So, I'll let y'all know in about a month, So, you also should be able to calculate it if you're paying attention to. All right. On the second day of this 7-day festival, sacrifice 12 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the third day of the festival, sacrifice 11 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the fourth day of the festival, sacrifice 10 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the 5th day of the festival, sacrifice 9 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the 6th day of the festival, sacrifice 8 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offerings with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the 7th day of the festival, sacrifice 7 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the 8th day of the festival, proclaim another holy day. You must do no ordinary work on that day. You must present a burnt offering as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. It will consist of 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. You must present these offerings to Yahuwah at your annual festivals. These are in addition to the sacrifices and offerings you present in connection with vows or as voluntary offerings, burnt offerings, grain offerings, liquid offerings, or peace offerings. So Moses gave all these instructions to the people of Israel as Yahuwah had commanded him. All right, y'all, last chapter for the day. Numbers chapter 30. Then Moses summoned the leaders of the tribes of Israel and told them, "This is what Yahuwah has commanded. A man who makes a vow to Yahuwah or makes a pledge under oath must never break it. He must do exactly what he said he would do. If a young woman makes a vow to Yahuwah or a pledge under oath while she is still living at her father's home, and her father hears the vow or pledge and does not object to it, then all her vows and pledges will stand. But if her father refuses to let her fulfill her vow or pledge on the day that he hears of it, then all her vows and pledges will become invalid. For Yahuwah will forgive her because her father would not let her fulfill them. Now suppose a young woman makes a vow or binds herself with an impulse or pledge and later marries. If her husband learns of her vow or pledge and does not object on the day he hears of it, her vows and pledges will stand. But if her husband refuses to accept her vow or impulsive pledge on the day he hears of it, he nullifies her commitments and Yahuwah will forgive her. However, if a woman is a widow or is divorced, she must fulfill all her vows and pledges. But suppose a woman is married and living in her husband's home when she makes a vow or binds herself with a pledge. If her husband hears of it and does not object to it, her vow or pledge will stand. But if her husband refuses to accept it on the day that he hears of it, her vow or pledge will be nullified, and Yahuwah will forgive her. So her husband may either confirm or nullify any vows or pledges she makes to deny herself. But if he does not object on the day he hears of it, then he is agreeing to all her vows and pledges. If he waits more than a day and then tries to nullify a vow or pledge, he will be punished for her guilt. These are the regulations as Yahuwah gave Moses concerning relationships between a man and his wife and between a father and a young daughter who still lives at home. And let me give you a quick example. So say you being a wife, I'm talking to the women, you being a wife, and I'm sure that this might apply to a husband as well, but it just brought out the woman here in this right here. So say you vow to do a 40-day fast, right? And you're married. And you tell your husband about it, which will be the day that he hears of it. And be like, well, okay, all right, babe. Well, and y'all talk about it. Okay, we also fasting from you know, marital relations too. Like, yeah. And if he agrees with that, okay, then her vow shall stand. Well, if he like 40 whole days, yeah, I don't know about it. I don't know. I don't know. No, I can't. Not 40 days, sis. So but if that the day he hears of it and he doesn't agree with it, then Yahuwah said, he would forgive her, or he would nullify her vow. So then her 40-day fast that she committed to fast before the Most Holy, she doesn't have to do anymore. But, it doesn't say she can't adjust it. Okay, well, what about 3 days? Can we do 3 days? So normally there's a compromise there when there are married couples involved, right? Okay, so and the same thing with women still living in their parents' household or whatever. So because you're under their authority, okay, well, we don't think it's wise that you do this, but if they don't agree, Yahuwah said she will be forgiven. Well, okay, well, do as Yahuwah is leading you. And Yahuwah said her vow will stand. All right, so that was just a simple example, y'all. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop on over here to the Legends of the Jews. We're going to pick up where we left off at yesterday. Remember, we are in Volume 3, Chapter 3. And if you got the same size book I got, we stopped at page 104. It's the very last paragraph at the bottom of the page where it starts in his blessing, Jacob likened Dan to Judah. So that's where we're starting at, y'all. Okay. In his blessing, Jacob likened Dan to Judah. Hence, the tribe of Dan stood at the head of the fourth camp of Israel, and their prince offered his gifts before those of Asher and Naphtali. Jacob, in his blessing to Dan, thought principally of the great hero Samson. Hence, the gifts of this tribe allude chiefly to the history of the Danite judges. Samson was a Nazarite, and to this alluded the silver charger for storing bread, for it is the duty of a Nazarite at the expiration of the period of his vow to present bread as an offering. To Samson too alluded the bowl, in Hebrew called Mizrach, creeping, for he was lame on both feet and could only creep and crawl. The spoon of 10 shekels of gold recalled the 10 laws that are imposed upon Nazarites and that Samson had to obey. The 3 burnt offerings had a similar significance, for Samson's mother received 3 injunctions from the angel, who said to her husband Manoah, she may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat anything unclean. The sin offering, which consisted of a kid called in Hebrew Sair, corresponded to the admonition given to Samson's mother not to shave his hair, in Hebrew Sayar. Yeah. The 2 oxen corresponded to the 2 pillars of which Samson took hold to demolish the house of the Philistines, whereas the 3 kinds of small cattle that were presented as offerings symbolized the 3 battles that Samson undertook against the Philistines. The judge must pronounce judgment before it be executed. Hence, too, the tribe of Asher, the executors of justice, followed Dan, the judges. The name Asher also signifies good fortune, referring to the good fortune of Israel that was chosen to Okay. Referring to the good fortune of Israel that was chosen to, hold on, y'all. That was chosen to the God's people. Hold on, I'm trying to make the sentence make sense, y'all. Hold on. I think it's a typo. I think the word given is missing. Okay. The name Asher also signifies good fortune, referring to the good fortune of Israel that was given to Yahuwah's chosen people. And in accordance with this name, Also, do the gifts of the prince of the tribe of Asher allude to the distinction of Israel? The charger, 130 shekels of silver in weight, correspond to the nations of the world, whom, however, Yahuwah repudiated, choosing Israel in their stead. The bowl of 70 shekels correspond to the 70 pious souls, of whom Israel consisted when they moved to Egypt. Both vessels were filled with fine flour. Yahuwah sent his prophets to the other nations as well as to Israel, but Israel alone declared itself willing to accept the Torah. This nation accepted the spoon of the 10 shekels of gold filled with incense, every man among them being willing to accept the 10 commandments and the Torah. The 3 burnt offerings correspond to the 3 crowns that Israel received from their God: the crown of the Torah, the crown of the priesthood, and the crown of the kingdom, for which reason also golden crowns were fashioned on the ark, and in which the Torah was kept, on the altar on which the priests offered sacrifices, and on the table that symbolized the kingdom. But the highest of all is the crown of a good name, which a man earns through good deeds. For the crucial test is not the study of the Torah, but the life conforming to it. Ooh, now that's a preach, right? Because remember, that lines up with what I said, right? So listen. So now when we read the Torah, reading through the Torah causes us to have to be responsible, right? Like, you don't have to. You can just choose not to. But it causes you to wake up and pay attention. And now you have to make a choice, right? Everything is kind of like beginning to open up before you and like laid plain, like lies are removed from your eyes when you begin to look and read the Torah and like, wait a minute here. And it causes you to have to make a choice. And there is Yahuwah again. He said, listen, I have laid out before you good and evil, right? And he said, this is what's going to happen when you go down the good road. And this is what's going to happen when you go down the evil road. He said, choose one. He said, but let me help you. He said, choose this way. Choose the good road. Choose the ancient paths of life and walk in them, right? He said, because there, at the end of that road, you find me, right? He said, I lay it all out. Choose. You choose. Matter of fact, let me help you choose if you don't quite know which way to choose. Choose the good way, right? Listen. But the highest of all is the crown of a good name, which a man earns through good deeds. For the crucial test is not the study of the Torah, but the life conforming to it. I'm changing today's title. Hold on. I'm changing today's title. Hold on. That's good. Okay. I'm going to read it one more time. But the highest of all is the crown of a good name, which a man earns through good deeds. For the crucial test is not the study of Torah, but the life conforming to it. For this reason also there was a sin offering among the offerings corresponding to the crown of good deeds, for these alone can serve as an expiation. The 2 oxen indicated the 2 Torah that Yahuwah gave to his people, the written and the oral, whereas the 15 peace offerings of small cattle correspond to the 3 patriarchs and the 12 fathers of the tribes. For these 15 Yahuwah had chosen, as Jacob blessed after Asher and Naphtali, so did these 2 tribes succeed each other in the offerings at the dedication of the tabernacle. Naphtali, Jacob's son, was a very affectionate son who was ever ready to execute his father's every command. The prince of the tribe of Naphtali followed his ancestors' example, and by his gifts to the sanctuary sought to recall the 3 patriarchs and their wives. 1 silver charger, the weight whereof was 130 shekels, symbolized Sarah, who was unique among her sex in her piety, and who almost attained the age of 130 years. A silver bowl for sprinkling blood recalled Abraham, who was thrown far away from his home. The weight of the bowl was 70 shekels. As Abraham was also 70 years old when Yahuwah made with him the covenant between the pieces. The charger and the bowl were both filled with fine flour, mingled with oil, as also Abraham and Sarah were imbued with a love for good and pious deeds. The spoon of 10 shekels of gold alludes to Abraham as well, for Abraham conquered the evil inclination and resisted the 10 temptations, whereas the 3 burnt offerings and the sin offering correspond to the offerings made by Abraham at the covenant between the pieces. The 2 oxen for the peace offering indicate Isaac and Rebekah, whereas the 3 kinds of small cattle allude to Jacob, Leah, and Rachel. But the sum total of the offerings of these 3 species was 15, corresponding to these 3 and the 12 fathers of the tribes. Apart from the significance that the offerings of the tribal princes had for each individual tribe respectively, they also symbolize the history of the world from the time of Adam to the erection of the tabernacle. The silver charger indicated Adam, who lived 930 years, and the numerical equivalent of the letters of Korat, Kesef, silver charger amount to the same. Corresponding to the weight of 130 shekels, Adam begat his son Seth, the actual father of the future generations, at the age of 130 years. The silver bowl alludes to Noah, for as it weighed 70 shekels, so did 70 nations spring from Noah. Both these vessels were filled with fine flour, as Adam and Noah were both full of good deeds. The spoon of 10 shekels of gold corresponded to the 10 words by Yahuwah, which the world was created, to the 10 Sephirot, to the 10 list of generations in the scriptures, to the 10 essential constituent parts of the human body, to the 10 miracles Yahuwah wrought for Israel in Egypt, to the 10 miracles Israel experienced by the Red Sea. The 3 burnt offerings were meant to recall the 3 patriarchs. The kid of goats indicated Joseph. The 2 oxen correspond to Moses and Aaron. The 5 rams to the 5 distinguished sons of Zerah, Zimri, Ethan, Heman, Calcol, and Dara. Whereas the 5 goats and the 5 lambs symbolize the 5 senses of mankind, by means of which the existence of things is determined. The sum total of the gifts of the 12 princes of the tribes had also a symbolical significance. The 12 chargers correspond to the 12 constellations, the 12 bowls of the 12 months, the 12 spoons of the 12 guides of men, which are the heart that bestows understanding and insight, the kidneys that give counsel, good as well as evil, the mouth. Okay. I just thought I'm thinking about it like medical terms and stuff. Okay. All right. Hold on. Listen. Let me go back. The 12 chargers correspond to the 12 constellations, the 12 bowls of the 12 months, the 12 spoons to the 12 guides of men, which are the heart that bestows understanding and insight, the kidney that gives counsel, good as well as evil, the mouth that cuts all kinds of food, the tongue that renders speech impossible, the palate that tastes the flavors of food, the windpipe that renders possible breathing and the utterance of sounds, the esophagus that swallows food and drink, the lungs that absorbs fluid, the liver that promotes laughter. That is true, because if you see like a person who's constantly angry and just like belligerent, you can almost, it's like almost a scientific proven fact. You need to detox. You got a dirty liver, right? Seriously. The liver that promotes laughter, because laughter is what the opposite, right? that promotes laughter, the crop that grinds all the food, and the stomach that affords pleasant sleep. All the silver of the vessels that weighed 2,400 shekels correspond to the years that had passed from the creation of the world to the advent of Moses in the 40th year of his life. All the gold of the spoons, the weight of which was 120 shekels, corresponds to the years of Moses' life, where he died at the age of 120. The different species of animal offered as sacrifices correspond to the different ranks of the leaders of Israel. The 12 bullocks to the 12 kings, the 12 rams to the princes of the tribes, the 12 kids of goats to the governors, and the 12 sheep to the government officials. The 24 oxen for a peace offering correspond to the books of the scriptures, and the divisions of the priests were also meant to serve as atonement for the 24,000 men who, owing their worship to Peor, died of the plague. The 60 rams of the peace offerings correspond to the 60 myriads of Israel's fighting hosts, the 60 he-goats to the 60 empires, and the 60 lambs to the building of the second temple that measured 60 cubits in height and 60 in width. The gifts of the 12 princes of the tribes were not only equal in number, but also in the size and width of the objects bestowed, every tribe making exactly the same offering to the sanctuary. None among them wished to outrival the others, but such harmony reigned among them and such unity of spirit that Yahuwah valued the service of each as if he had brought not only his own gifts, but also those of his companions. As a reward for this mutual regard and friendship, Yahuwah granted them the distinction of permitting them to present their offerings even on the Sabbath day. All right, we are done with that section. That was by far the longest section that we have read since we have been reading. All right, and that was the entire section, the gifts of the princes, or the gifts from each of the heads of the leaders of the 12 tribes, right? The 12 princes, right? Okay, Revelations in the Tabernacle. I think we'll have time to read this. And probably we'll be done with this chapter and we'll go right into chapter 4. Okay, let's read. The Revelations in the Tabernacle. Honor, hold on. Before I go back here, hold on. Maybe I won't change the title. Maybe we'll use this. Let me think about it. Okay. This is where my title comes from for today, this section. Honor pursues him who tries to escape it. Moses, in his humility, felt that his mission as the leader of the people ended with the erection of the tabernacle, as Israel could now satisfy all their spiritual needs without his aid. But Yahuwah said, as truly as thou livest, I have for thee a far greater task than any thou hast yet accomplished. For thou shalt instruct my children about clean and unclean, and shalt teach them how to offer up offerings to me. Yahuwah hereupon called Moses to the tabernacle to reveal to him there the laws and teachings. Moses, in his humility, did not dare to enter the tabernacle, so that Yahuwah had to summon him to enter. Moses, however, could not enter the sanctuary while a cloud was upon it, this being a sign that the demons held sway, but awaited until the cloud had moved on. The voice that called to Moses came from heaven in the form of a tube of fire, and rested over the 2 cherubim, whence Moses perceived its sound. This voice was as powerful as at the revelation at Sinai, when the souls of all of Israel escaped in terror. Still it was audible to none but Moses. Not even the angels heard it, for the words of Yahuwah were destined exclusively for Moses. Aaron, too, with the exception of the 3 cases in which Yahuwah revealed himself to him, never received his commands except through the communication of Moses. Yahuwah would call Moses twice, caressingly. Hold on. Okay, that don't make sense. Hold on. This sentence, y'all. I'm sorry, I'm just a stickler for English, and okay. It still don't make sense, but I'm gonna read it because I hold on. Okay. Yahuwah would call Moses twice, caressingly, words by name, and when he had answered, "Here am I," Yahuwah's words were revealed to him, and every commandment as a special revelation. Okay, so Yahuwah, I guess he caressingly said his name and got his attention. Okay, let me just read that again. That's gonna pluck my nerves. Caressingly saying his, okay. Yahuwah would call Moses twice, caressingly, words by name, and when he had answered, "Here am I," Yahuwah's words were revealed to him, and every commandment as a special revelation. Yahuwah always allowed a pause to take place between the different laws to be imparted, that Moses might have time to rightly grasp what was told to him. He needed time to assimilate this new information that was coming to him. Like sometimes he wanted to get information overload. Sometimes you know how you researching and you just take in so much you don't have time for it to just sit and sink in. That's what happened a lot of times when you read the scripture. Sometimes you have to read it, then you just gotta stop and think about and meditate what you read just to make sure understanding comes, right? Because a lot of times, especially when I'm reading, even a lot of times people ask me questions, whereas they would get it if they would just pause and think about what's there and what's being read. And if you've read it enough, you will be able to begin to put the pieces together. Like that's how I began to do it. Like I don't have any kind of special revelation. I just read it so much and I think about it so much and I hear it so much that it begins to come together. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. So granted, Yahuwah does reveal some stuff, but most of what I understand simply comes from me reading every single day, y'all. I kid you not. And it happened for you just like it do for me, right? I'm serious. Like, it literally comes from me literally just reading every day. I'm familiar with it. Okay. Yahuwah always allowed a pause to take place between the different laws to be imparted, that Moses might have time to rightly grasp what was told him. On the first day of the dedication of the tabernacle, not least than 8 important sections of laws were communicated to Moses by Yahuwah. As a reward for his piety, Aaron and his descendants to all eternity received the laws of sanctity, which are a special distinction of the priest, and these laws were revealed on this day. It was on this day also that Aaron and his sons received the gifts of the priests, for although even at the revelation on Sinai, Israel had set them aside, still they were not given to Aaron and his sons until this day when the sanctuary was anointed. The second law revealed on this day was the separation of the Levites from among the children of Israel, that they might be dedicated to the sanctuary. For Yahuwah elevated no man to an office unless he has tried him and found him worthy of his calling. He did not say, "And the Levites shall be mine," before he had tried this tribe, and he found them worthy. In Egypt, none but the tribe of Levi observed the Torah and clung to the token of the Abrahamic covenant, while the other tribes, abandoning both Torah and token of the covenant, like the Egyptians, practiced idolatry. I don't know if y'all remember this, but also we know that the only tribe that, although when Egypt was in slavery, was not put to hard labor and slavery, was the tribe of Levi. Like we read that earlier in here, right? Aaron, they was free to move about. They really were. Like Levi was not the one out there building and stuff. They literally, because they kept to the Torah. That's crazy. That's a whole sermon in itself, and that'll preach, right? And this right here makes that make sense, because they clung to the Torah. They kept the words of the Most Holy. And remember, we also read just in the regular Bible, Yahuwah said that, listen, go ahead, go on to Babylon, all y'all people going, right? Jeremiah, Daniel was in captivity. Their people were in captivity. But we don't see Daniel and them, and granted, they got tried. They were tried. But they clung to the words of the Most Holy, right? And Yahuwah kept them, right? Although Daniel, I believe Daniel was of the tribe of Judah, but it was mostly Levi. We're talking about the first Egypt. None of Levi, although they were there present with them, they were not put to hard bondage and slavery labor, right? Ain't nobody touched Levi. Because why? Levi clung to the words of the Most High, while the other tribes ran amok, right? I'm going to read that again. That it just clicked, right? Okay. Let's see. The second law revealed on this day was the separation of the Levites from among the children of Israel, that they might be dedicated to the sanctuary. For Yahuwah elevated no man to an office unless he has tried him and found him worthy of his calling. He did not say, and the Levites shall be mine, before he tried this tribe and found them worthy. In Egypt, none but the tribe of Levi observed the Torah and clung to the token of the Abrahamic covenant, while the other tribes, abandoning both Torah and the token of covenant, like the Egyptians, practiced idolatry. In the desert also, it was this tribe alone that did not partake in the worship of the golden calf. Justly, therefore, did Yahuwah's choice fall upon this godly tribe, who on this day were consecrated as the servants of Yahuwah and his sanctuary, right? Because remember, when Moses came down, he said, all those who are on Yahuwah's side over here and everybody else over there, Levi, he said, all right, slaughter all those ones that partook in the worship of the golden calf. And you'll go back and read it. You read it in the regular Bible. It was Levi who stood up first to execute Yahuwah's command. Like, we slaughtering all our brothers and sisters that went against this, right? We were still, even if nobody else was, you could have looked over and followed our example. Levi never turned away, right? Levi always, for the most part, I mean, we see some shenanigans going through with some of the priests and stuff, right? But you also have to remember, when we get to the books of Kings, when the kingdoms separate, you have to realize that most of the tribe of Levi defected and went to Judah, right? That's why Judah got to stay in the land longer, because the priests were there. And for the other parts of Israel, you have priests that were actually set up in the Levitical priesthood, who were not really set apart as Levitical priests in the first place. So when you read about some of those priests, when we get to the books of Kings and Chronicles and stuff, you got to realize what had happened. Rehoboam was King Solomon's son, and Jeroboam was the leader of the northern kingdom, right? So he began to set people as priests that he wanted to, those whom he knew would take their unauthorized sacrifices, right? So you'll read that, but when you read about that, just realize those priests were not approved by the Most Holy. They were vagabonds set up by the king of Israel, right? Okay. Y'all get it when y'all read it. The ceremonies connected with the consecration of the Levites had much in common with the regulation for the cleansing of lepers. Originally, the firstborn had been the servants of the sanctuary, but owing to the worship of the golden calf, they lost this prerogative, and the Levites replaced them. It was for this reason that the Levites were obliged to observe regulations similar to those for the cleansing of the lepers, because they took the place of the men who by their sins had defiled themselves. The offerings that the Levites brought on this occasion consisted of 2 bullocks, one for a burnt offering, whenever the congregation, seduced by others, commits idolatry, and Israel would not have worshipped the golden calf had not the mixed multitude misled them. Remember, we talked about that. They wanted to come Moses pleaded with the Most Holy, said, nope, they can't come. But Moses kept on pleading. Yahuwah said, all right, let them come. But Yahuwah saw it all the way from he knew before, he knew all of it, because he saw them, he foresaw them worshiping the golden calf and still decided, I'm still going to give them my Torah, right? Because he saw something a little further down the line, right? So he knew that this people, there would be a few people out of generation that he would, like Abraham. Abraham was a shield to his entire generation, like, right? Enoch was a shield to his entire generation, right? And we read about these different shields, those pious men and women for their generation that keeps Yahuwah from flooding the earth again, right? Okay. The offerings of the Levites brought on this occasion consisted of 2 bullocks, one for a burnt offering whenever the congregation, seduced by others, commits idolatry. And Israel would not have worshipped the golden calf had not the mixed multitude misled them. So when Yahuwah say don't mingle with people, don't hang out with people, you better follow that last command. You better you better cling to it, right? Because if he tell you that, you best believe there's a good reason why. You may not be able to see it now, but I'm telling you, if you violate it, you're going to surely find out why he told you to stay away from them. Don't let that be you. But whosoever worships an idol by this act renounces the whole Torah. Hence did the Levites have to offer up another bullock for a sin offering in accordance with the law, that if the whole congregation of Israel had done somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahuwah concerning things which should not be done, they are guilty then. If the whole congregation of Israel have done somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahuwah concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty, then they shall offer up a young bullock for their sin. As the Levites had been chosen to do the service of the children of Israel in the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, Yahuwah ordered all the congregation of Israel to be present at the consecration of the Levites. For whosoever had a sin offering up for himself must bring it in person to the tabernacle. Therefore, too, did the elders of Israel have to put their hands upon the Levites, according to the prescription that the elders must put their hands upon the sin of the congregation. Aaron, like the elders, participated in the ceremony of the consecration, lifting up every single Levite as a token that he was now dedicated to the sanctuary. Aaron's extraordinary strength is proven by the fact that he was able to lift up 20, Lord have mercy, I'm the editor of this book. It say 22,000. It should be 22,000 men in one day. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to this next section. We'll go ahead and read this through. The cleansing of the camp. The third law revealed on this day was the command that the children of Israel put out the camp every leper and every unclean person. When Israel moved outside of Egypt, the majority of the people were afflicted with physical defects and diseases contracted doing their work on the structures they had been compelled to erect in Egypt. One had his hand crushed by a falling stone, another's eye blinded by the splashing of loam. It was a battered and crippled host that reached Sinai, eager to receive Torah. But Yahuwah said, does it become the glory of the Torah that I should bestow it upon a race of cripples? Nor do I want to await the coming of another sound generation, for I desire no further delay of the revelation of the Torah. And remember, a few days back, we also read this in more detail, and when he said he decided to go ahead and just heal them, right? It's the same thing with the sacrifices. Don't bring me anything lame, crippled, broken neck, crooked back, none of that. It needs to be perfect. And he looked at the people the same way. He told them, he said, be perfect because I am perfect. Be holy because I am holy, right? And so because of their deformities, by being in Egypt, through their captivity and stuff, he decided he was just going to go ahead and heal them and make them perfect in his sight, right? Blessed be the most holy. He going to do it again. Listen. It was a battered and crippled host that reached Sinai, eager to receive the Torah. But Yahuwah said, does it become the glory of the Torah that I should bestow it upon a race of cripples? Nor do I want to wait another, nor do I want to await the coming of another sound generation. For I desire no further delay of the revelation of the Torah. Hereupon Yahuwah sent angels to heal all among Israel that were diseased or afflicted with defects, so that all the children of Israel were sound and whole when they received the Torah. They remained in this condition until they worshipped the golden calf, when all their diseases returned as punishment for their defection from Yahuwah. Only the women, during their stay in the desert, were exempt from the customary ailments to which women are subject, as a reward for being the first who declared themselves ready to accept the Torah. Right? Women did something right. Eve messed it up, but the women in the following generation, like, oh, we ain't following that example. It says we got to do this right this time. We ready. We ready. We ready. Give it to us. I'm telling you. Hold on. They remained in this condition until they worshiped the golden calf, when all their diseases returned as a punishment for their defection from Yahuwah. Only the women during their stay in the desert were exempt from the customary ailments to which women are subject, as a reward for being the first who declared themselves ready to accept the Torah. When the tabernacle had been consecrated, Yahuwah now said to Moses, so long as you had not erected the tabernacle, I did not object to having the unclean and the lepers mingle with the rest of the people. But now that the sanctuary is erected, and that my Shekinah dwells among you, I insist upon your separating all these from among you, that they might not defile the camp in the midst of which I dwell. In the midst of which I dwell. The law in regards to lepers was peculiarly severe, for they were denied the right of staying within the camp, whereas the unclean were prohibited from staying near the sanctuary. Dana, I saw your comment. I'm going to come back and read it. I just want to finish reading all this. I'll come back to it. The lepers were the very ones who had worshipped the golden calf, and as a consequence been smitten with this disease, as it was for this reason that Yahuwah separated them from the community. 13 sins are punished with leprosy by Yahuwah: blasphemy, unchastity, murder, false suspicion, pride, illegal appropriation of the rights of others, slander, theft, perjury, profanation of the divine name, idolatry, envy, and contempt of the Torah. Goliath was stricken with leprosy because he reviled Yahuwah. The daughters of Zion became leprous in punishment of their unchastity. Leprosy was Cain's punishment for the murder of Abel. When Moses said to Yahuwah, but behold, they will not believe me, Yahuwah replied, O Moses, thou art sure they will not believe thee. They are believers and the sons of believers. Thou who didst suspect them wrongly, put not thy hand in thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was as leprous as snow. Uzzah presumed upon the rights of the priesthood, and went into the temple to burn incense upon the altar of incense. He was just to commit the offense when the leprosy brake forth in his forehead. Leprosy fell upon Naaman, who had grown arrogant because of his heroic deeds. For slandering Moses, Miriam became leprous as snow, and Gehazi was punished by leprosy because he frustrated the purpose of Elisha, who desired to accept nothing from Naaman in order that the cure might rebound to the glory of Yahuwah. Yeah, that's right. Gehazi went back. He said, oh, my Lord said, go ahead and give him them gifts. And when Elisha found it out, Elisha didn't even see the gifts, but Yahuwah had revealed to him that he went back to Naaman and lied and said that he wanted the gifts. And he said, you know what? Let Naaman's leprosy now be yours. And this prophet's apprentice was a leprous until the day of his death, Gehazi. Let us remember Gehazi, right? Another important law revealed on this day referred to the celebration of the second Passover feast. Mishael and Elzaphan, who had attended to the burial of Nadab and Abihu, were godly men, anxious to fulfill the commandments of Yahuwah. Hence they went to the house where Moses and Aaron instructed the people and said to them, "We are defiled by the dead body of a man, wherefore we kept back, that we may not offer an offering to Yahuwah in his appointed season among the children of Israel." Moses at first answered that they might not keep the Passover owing to their conditions of uncleanliness, but they argued with him, asking that even if, owing to their condition, they might not partake of the sacrificial meat, they might at least be permitted to participate in the offering of the Passover lamb by having the blood of the offering sprinkled for them. Moses admitted that he could not pass judgment on this case before receiving instruction concerning it from Yahuwah, for Moses had the rare privilege of being certain of receiving revelations from Yahuwah whenever he applied to him. He therefore bade Mishael and Elzaphan to await Yahuwah's judgment concerning their case, and sentence was indeed revealed immediately. It was on this day that also Yahuwah said to Moses, "A heavy blow of fate had fallen upon Aaron today, but instead of murmuring, he thanked me for the death that robbed him of his 2 sons, which proves his trust and my justice towards them who had deserved punishment more severe." Remember, we talked about that, right? And Aaron was a little upset at first until Yahuwah revealed to him. He said, listen, he said, I was good to let them die in the way that they died. He said, my holy fire came out and just took their souls through their nostrils, and I left their bodies unscathed. He said, but for the offense that they committed ignorantly, they were going in to offers because they loved the most holy, right? Although they had a little bit of shenanigans about them, Yahuwah counted Aaron's sons as truly, really pious men, right? But for what they had done by violating the rules of the tabernacle, he said they should have been leprous to the day that they died. He said, now would you have wanted to see your sons die and grow in pain and anguish, being excommunicated from the camp for the rest of their days, being lepers? He said, or would you rather have seen them go this way, where I took them immediately, I took their souls immediately, and I left their bodies untouched? And Aaron was like, you are most holy, you are most gracious, and thank you, right? It was on this day that Yahuwah said to Moses, a heavy blow of fate had fallen upon Aaron today, but instead of murmuring, he thanked me for the death that robbed him of his 2 sons, which proves his trust and my justice towards them who had deserved punishment more severe. Go then and comfort him, and at the same time tell him that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which upon is the ark. These last words greatly grieved Moses, who not thought, woe is me, for it seems as if Aaron had lost his rank, since he may not at all times enter the sanctuary. The statement of the periods for his admission in the sanctuary was also so indeterminate that I am not at all sure whether they are to recur hourly, daily, or annually, every 12 years, perhaps even 70, or not at all. But Yahuwah replied, thou art mistaken. I was not thinking of fixing a certain time, whether hour or day or year, for Aaron may enter the sanctuary at any time. But when he does, he must observe certain ceremonies. The ceremonies that Aaron, as well as every other high priest, had to perform on the Day of Atonement before his entrance into the Holy of Holies, were symbolical of the 3 patriarchs, of the 4 wives of the patriarchs, and of the 12 tribes. Only by depending upon the merits of these pious men and women, and women, might the high priest venture to enter the Holy of Holies without having to fear the angels that filled this space. That makes sense. These were obliged to retreat upon their entrance of the high priest, and even Satan had to flee whenever he beheld the high priest, and did not dare to accuse Israel before Yahuwah. Aaron's grief. Won't you just go back up and lay down? You're trying to cover up with jackets. Just go get on your bed and cover up with your blanket. Or you just want to sit down here with me? Okay, that's fine too. All right. Aaron's grief about the death of his sons was turned to joy when Yahuwah, on the day of their death, granted him the distinction of receiving a direct revelation from Yahuwah, which prohibited both him and his sons from drinking wine or strong drink when they went into the tabernacle. Think about something, y'all. Also, listen. You must be sober when you go into the presence of the Most Holy, right? So you know that the visions and the revelations that you get are not being misconstrued. Think about what they call alcohol. They call alcohol spirits, right? Because you are literally, although it's a liquid form of alcoholic beverage, there are literally spirits that are attached to them, and if you partake too much of them spirits will literally take over you, right? And if you've ever seen somebody completely controlled by spirits, you would see something supernatural happen a lot of times. If you have the eyes to see it, you will actually see something other than that person actually speaking and acting. You can literally see it driving that person if you have eyes to see, right? So sometimes it's good for some people not to partake of it at all, right? And a lot of times people have these and it's not just with that, it's also with like different types of drugs. I mean, you're not supposed to take drugs, but I know marijuana's like medicinal, and I don't have any problems with that. But when you taking it just to take it recreation wise and stuff like that, sometimes, and what I began to notice, like sometimes people get high and they get all kind of wisdom to speak to you. Now sometimes now, I'm gonna just say sometimes, and not all people, but sometimes some people, they actually say some things while under the influence that makes a whole lot of doggone sense, right? And you got to think about also there are artists, musical artists and stuff, who actually, they said their best work is done when they're under the influence. That's why you see a lot of them, their fate, their end comes from overdosing with drugs, right? They're literally trying to get that next best hit, because what happens is these drugs literally open the gateway into the spiritual realm, but you have accessed it illegally. I'm telling you, you want to stay away from that route. Let Yahuwah open that realm for you, or open that gateway into the next realm, whether you want to call it the third eye or seeing in the spirit. It's all the same thing. It's how you access that realm, right? That realm is neither good nor bad, but it's how you access it and your intentions of why are you here? What are you doing here, son of Amram? Right? Oh, no, the Most Holy authorized me to be here. Oh, you can pass. You know what I'm saying? So y'all got to be careful when it comes to that, right? You can literally, I'm just saying, you don't want to start going, not saying that anybody here is doing that, but just in case somebody happens upon this video sometime later, that's what's happening. And a lot of times it becomes addictive. Not so much that you want to become addicted to it, but the chemicals and the properties in it binds itself to your DNA, and it keeps you going into that direction, right? And people literally, some people actually have open visions and stuff when they access this realm through drugs and all that. Like I said, that's why a lot of musical artists, they get strung out. If they're not strung out, sometimes they won't even do their work unless they get high, or they get some alcohol, get some spirits in their system, because they can illegally tap into that power, and they can pull things out of that realm, and they can benefit from it. Now, I'm not saying that that's good. I'm just saying altogether, stay away from that way of accessing that realm, and only go through the most holy, because I know some people, they a little bit impatient. Like, oh my gosh, it's taking so long. Why you got to teach me all this? Is like the movie Karate Kid with, Jackie Chan. Well, that's the more recent modernized version. But remember the original Karate Kid, it's the same thing. It's like, why you teaching me all this stuff? I want to learn that. Teach me how to do the kung fu kicking flying thing, right? I want to learn how to do that. He said, no, wash my car. Wax on, wax off. Not realizing that through these daily habits of these daily things that are conditioning, that are training your body, you are in fact preparing yourself to be able to do that kung fu flying, kicking, crane, bird thing, right? But you don't realize it at the beginning because you're so focused. Oh, I want to be great now. No, let me teach you the process of what it takes to become great. And a lot of us, sometimes when we're down here and we're training, it's like, why we got to do this? Oh, what does this have to do with what I want to do over here, the kung fu flying, crane, kicking thing? This has nothing to do with that. The contrary, my dear. Has everything to do with the kung fu flying, crane, kicking thingy, right? So wax on, wax off. Because what's going to happen is, by us going through this process of waxing on and waxing off, we're becoming stronger. And now when we grow and we get to the point where we can do the kung fu crane flying kicky thing, we won't be a vagabond in the land and be chopping necks of everybody where we go down the street. We would have gained discipline. We would have gained the ability to decipher when we should use this kung fu crane flying kicky thing and when we should not, right? We'll learn the discipline. We'll learn how to control it. And we become responsible adults to where Yahuwah says, I give you full reign. Go do whatever you want. Knowing by him saying that to you, he know that you have been trained enough to know that you're not just going to go out here kung fu kicking everybody. Even though he's giving you full reign to go do whatever you want, he knows that you're going to exercise control. You're disciplined enough to choose between good and evil. He knows that you're going to take the right road. And if you get off just a little bit, he knows that the training and the teaching that he has taught you through the process of waxing on and waxing off, it'll grab hold of you. It'll cause you to stop and ponder and think about and consider your ways. Ooh, let me back up. Boom, boom, boom. Back on the right track. Right? So that's why the process of waxing on and waxing off is so important. The daily habit of just reading 3 chapters a day is like waxing on, waxing off. Oh my gosh, this is so redundant. How many years? How long we got to do this? Wax on, wax off. We're getting stronger day by day. And you're able to boom till, oh my gosh, we can pray now. Just a simple prayer, just utterance and passing. Now we see the results of our prayers. Oh my gosh, what has happened? Right? Okay. Aaron's grief about the death. Wait a minute. Did I read all this? Oh, no, it was like a little part left. Where we at? Okay. We almost done. We got like 1 paragraph left, y'all, and then we'll be done with chapter 3. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this today. Aaron's grief about the death of his sons was turned to joy when Yahuwah, on the day of their death, granted him the distinction of receiving a direct revelation from Yahuwah, which prohibited both him and his sons, from drinking wine or strong drink when they wanted to enter the tabernacle. On this day also Moses received the revelation concerning the red heifer, whose significance was never vouchsafed to any other human being beside himself. On the following day, under the supervision of Eleazar, Aaron's sons, it was slaughtered and burnt. Although, besides this one, a number of other red heifers were provided in future generations, this one was distinguished by having its ashes kept forever, which mingled with the ashes of the other red heifers were always used for the purification of Israel. But it is in this world alone that the priest can purify the unclean by sprinkling with this water of purification, whereas in the future world, Yahuwah will sprinkle clean water upon Israel, that they may be cleansed from all their filthiness and from all their idols. All right, y'all, this last little section for today, the lighting of the candlestick. The eighth law revealed on this day was the lighting of the candlestick. After all the princes of the tribes had brought their gifts to the sanctuary, and Yahuwah had bidden Moses to let them offer each his offering, one a day throughout 12 days, Aaron, profoundly agitated, thought, "Woe is me! It seems as if owing to my sin, my tribe has been excluded by Yahuwah from participating in the dedication of the sanctuary." Whereupon Yahuwah said to Moses, "Go to Aaron Go to Aaron and say to him, do not fear that thou art slighted and art deemed inferior to the other princes of the tribes. Thou, on the contrary, shalt enjoy a greater glory than all of these, for thou art to light the lamps of the candlesticks in the sanctuary." When Israel heard Yahuwah's command that the lights of the sanctuary to be lighted, they said, "O Lord of the world, thou biddest us to make a light for thee, that thou art the light of the world, with whom light dwelleth." But Yahuwah replied, "Not because I need your light do I bid you to burn lamps for me, but only that I might thereby distinguish you in the eyes of the nations that will say, Behold the people of Israel that hold up a light before him that bestows light upon the world. By your own eyesight you can see how little need I have of your light. You have the white of the eye and the black of the eye, and it is by means of this dark part of the eye that you are enabled to see, and not through the light part of the white of the eye. How should I, that am all light, have need of your light?" Oops. Yahuwah furthermore said, "A mortal of flesh and blood lights one light by means of another that is burning. I have brought forth light out of darkness. In the beginning, darkness was upon the face of the deep, whereupon I spake, Let there be light, and there was light. Shall I now be in need of your illumination? Nay, I commanded you to light the candles in the sanctuary, that I might distinguish you and give you another opportunity of doing a pious deed, the execution of which I will reward thee in the future world by letting a great light shine before you. And furthermore, if you will let the candles shine before me in my sanctuary, I shall protect from all evil your spirit, the candle of Yahuwah." Simultaneously with the command to light the sanctuary, Moses received the instruction to celebrate the Sabbath by the lighting of the candles. For Yahuwah said to him, "Speak to the children of Israel, if you will observe my command to light the Sabbath candles, I shall permit you to live to see Zion illuminated, when you will no longer require the light of the sun, but my glory will shine before you, so that the nations will follow your light." Aaron was distinguished, not only being selected to dedicate the sanctuary through the lighting of the candles. Yahuwah ordered Moses to communicate to his brother the following revelation: the sanctuary will on another occasion also be dedicated by the lighting of the candles, and then it will be done by the descendants, the Hasmoeans, for whom will perform miracles, and to whom I will grant grace. Hence there is greater glory destined for thee than all the other princes of the tribes, for their offerings to the sanctuary shall be employed only so long as it endures. But the lights of the Hanukkah festival will shine forever. And moreover, thy descendants shall bestow the priestly blessing upon Israel, even after the destruction of the temple. And that is the blessing that we do every day, right? They call it the Aaronic blessing, but it is the blessing that Yahuwah gave directly to Moses to tell Aaron to tell him to bless the people with, right? That's what he's talking about. He said, moreover, thy descendants shall bestow the priestly blessing upon Israel, even after the destruction of the temple. The candlestick that Aaron lighted in the sanctuary was not the common work of mortal hands, but was wrought by a miracle. When Yahuwah bade Moses fashion a candlestick, he found it difficult to execute the command, not knowing how to set the work to construct it in all its complicated details. Yahuwah therefore said to Moses, I shall show thee a model. Then he took a white fire, red fire, and green fire, and black fire, and out of these 4 kinds of fires he fashioned a candlestick with its bowls, its knops, and its flowers. Even then Moses was not able to copy the candlestick, whereupon Yahuwah drew its design upon his palm, saying to him, Look at this, and imitate the design I have on thy palm. But even that did not suffice to teach Moses how to execute the commission, whereupon Yahuwah bade him to cast a talent of gold into the fire. Moses did as he was bidden, and the candlestick shaped itself out of the fire. On this occasion, so upon other occasions, also did Yahuwah have to present the things tangibly before Moses in order to make certain laws intelligible to him. In this way, for example, at the revelation concerning the clean and unclean animals, Yahuwah showed one specimen of each to Moses, saying, This ye shall eat, and this ye shall not eat. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today and the end of chapter 3. And we'll start chapter 12 tomorrow. This is, I keep saying that, guys, it's just good all over. I keep finding myself, this is about to get good. It's just good every day to me, all day long. I'm sorry. I know y'all probably get tired of me saying that. This part tomorrow. Oh my gosh, we about to start. Forgive me, y'all. I'm like super excited all the time about all the words. I really am, if y'all haven't figured that out by now. So, all right, y'all. So that was the Legends of the Jews, and we started at page 304, and we read all the way to 309, and we read Numbers chapter 28, 29, and 30. It is Saturday morning, February the 13th, 2021, day 76 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 745. And I am aware that I did not say this in the beginning, because I see myself starting it without actually giving you the date. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and over here to the blessing. Now let everybody get about their day. Remember the blessing, which we just talked about, the Aaronic blessing, right? Yahuwah said, I'm going to give him another distinction. That after even the temple is torn down, his descendants will still say this blessing over Israel. And so here we go. It's found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. But let us not forget about the Nazirite vow that's found in the first 21 verses. All right. And Yahuwah spake to Moses and said, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. So let me go. Okay, no questions on YouTube. Let me go back up here to Dana's comment. At the end, can you talk about the sacrifices that apply to us for today, since we aren't in the land? What should we be doing and not? Example, burnt offerings, sun offerings. Oh, you probably meant sin offerings, grain, oil, drink, etc. Okay, so by reason that the temple is not standing, a lot of these things are, in the tabernacle, there is nothing standing, right? We're in the land of our captivity. You got to think about it. I just look at it this way. If we go through and we look at First of all, we're in the land of our captivity. Where have we seen examples of this done before? Let's read through the book of Daniel, the books of the prophets. All of them were in the land of their captivity. Were any of them doing sacrifices? None of them. Not none of them. None. They were doing nothing, right? You got some vagabonds. He said, listen, and while you in the land of your captivity, I ain't going to accept that anyway, because you're not even doing it according to how I said it, so it doesn't count. He said, I simply just want you to repent and come to me. So the only thing we should be doing is offering the bulls of our lips. These right here, right? Repent, right? Because you got to think about it. Even through all this, even with the sacrifices, they would not even have had to done that had they just kept the law, statutes, and commands, right? There would be no need for sacrifice if there was obedience, right? So we simply, and I'm just going to destroy the whole thing altogether. You know, I'm going to send y'all to land in captivity, and I'm going to let y'all practice this for a good 400 years, right? You're just going to get into the practice of just learning how to repent. You ain't going to have nothing available to you. You ain't be able to do nothing but cry out to me. I'm going to teach you this principle through and through. I desire obedience and not sacrifice. That's the best way I can explain that, Dana, based on all that I know to this day, right? Because we also look at, I think about when I read through the book of Ezekiel, and when Yahuwah talks about when we're back in the land and when he's actually here dwelling among us again, he said nobody is going to hurt all on my holy mount. Ain't nobody going to be slaughtering no animals, no nothing. He said the baby going to be able to sit and play over a snake hole. The snake going to come out and not even bite him. You know, the what is it? The wolf and the lamb, or the lion is, if you read it today, it says the wolf and the lamb, right? But we always kind of heard growing up the lion and the lamb. Anyway, they gonna chill together, right? So it ain't gonna be none of this. The things that happen after the fall, like a pure nature is going to be restored to creation as well as to Yahuwah's people, right? You know, so that's my understanding based on all that I know as of this day, February, what's today's date? All that I know up until this day, February the 13th, 2021, based on all the information that I've accumulated up until this day, that's what I understand that to be, right? Like, and that's how I think the sacrifices apply for us today. Like, we can't do them, right? We simply need to repent. Just like when, was it in Samuel? Yahuwah said, and the prophet Samuel said to King Saul, I think it was King Saul, he said, listen, what is this bleating of sheep that I hear in my ears? He said, Yahuwah simply wanted you to obey. He didn't want you out here sacrificing. He said Yahuwah desires obedience more than he desires sacrifice. Although he laid out the rules of sacrifice for him, if y'all would just do us right, quit with your shenanigans, we could all get along just fine, right? But that's what I think. But I do believe, like, say, like the first fruit offerings and stuff like that, things like that with our garden, because you got to look at a lot of it when the sacrifices or the food and stuff, excuse me, the animals weren't like being slaughtered for food. They still had the other like the temple would stand like without all those other sacrifices, right? Because they had like grain offerings and like the wine offerings that come from like the fruit from their gardens and stuff like that, and the incense offerings that they make from like the herbs and stuff from their garden, right? It was those type of things. The priests, the some of the sweet smelling incense and savors that came from the censers that had the incense. You know what I'm saying? That came from living things like the plants, you know. I think we can still, and here, let me just give how I do it, like, because now that I'm gardening, I'm learning how to garden, got a garden and stuff. So some things like the first fruits, he said, this should be done and kept wherever you are, not just in the land, but some of these regulations and rules are to be kept no matter where we are, right? And that means in captivity and outside of captivity, because those things that he said we can actually keep, right? Just like you got a little small, you wouldn't have to have a whole big plot of land, you can decide, you know what, I want to practice this. You may have just like a concrete balcony, but you can go buy you a pot, put some dirt in it, and grow. You can grow little dwarf fruit trees and tomato plants and all that stuff. And you can, when you have your first harvest of your tomato, cucumber, whatever, you can take that and use that as the first fruits of your harvest. That's what we do. That's what I've been doing. That's how I've been practicing it, just honestly. So I think that's all I can do. Like right now, based on the land, I ain't really got no land right now, but based on where we live and the yard and stuff that we have, as I'm learning and growing how to do this, and that's what we do, and we take it, and like the wave offering is literally, you take it and wave it before the most holy, wave offering. Thank you, Father, for this, and if it's somebody that needs food, we bless them with it, otherwise we partake of it, we eat it, right? So, but that Dana is based on my experience, But if you look at it, you got to look at our people, right? There are some things that are like deep down in the sha-na-na of our people that our people don't even realize that it comes from the culture of Yahuwah's people. Think about the homies that's pouring out some of the 40, right? Pour some out for the homies. Pouring out the drink offering. It's a lot of these little small things. Shooting dice, casting lots. Like all these things, it never dawns on us. If you're not familiar with the scriptures, you don't even realize that our people ignorantly still do a lot of these things. And they kind of just, it's just a part of our people, even though they don't know, but they're still using it in ways that they don't even really know what they are doing. But like I said, once you can see it, you can't unsee it, so I hope I explained that good enough, Dana. Did I? But that's what I understand. Although now you do have some sects of us, sects, S-E-C-T-S, sects, or groups or factions of our people who have totally going back to, they have cattle, but some have even taken as far as to like slaughtering the animals and stuff. And granted, okay, I'm thinking about this one particular group over in Israel. Well, let me say something. The group, the Demona, all of them are plant-based, so they're not slaughtering animals. But there is another group of people who call themselves Hebrews of Israel were doing Passover, and they did a matter of fact, I forget which news channel did it. They actually went and they recorded. It was like a news clip. And I'll see if I can find that. Let me make myself a note. I'm gonna show you. And they said, so what are you doing? They kind of explained to him, and the woman said, well, it was, this, and this is what I experienced, and they believe that this is this, and they're trying to keep to it, the scripture and stuff. And I get the gist of what they're doing, right? They did. They slaughtered the animal, and they let all the blood drain out. Not necessarily they did it in appropriate. Look, they ain't even doing it in an appropriate way. They let the blood drain out on the ground in like the middle of the, it ain't even set up even appropriate. But I get the gist of what they were doing. But because it wasn't set up how Yahuwah said, set it up and do it that way, they shouldn't have did it at all. Like, just go ahead and take that lamb to the meat market. Let them go ahead and butcher it up, clean it and stuff. You get it home and you wash it again before you cook it. But I'm going to show you. But some people, they actually still try to actually keep to the slaughtering of the animals. And I had this conversation with the Most. So I said, listen, Father, hold on. I said, now, forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn. I said, but the more I'm reading this and I understand that I'm a descendant of Levi, I said, granted, I'm a woman. I probably wouldn't be the one in there doing sacrifices anyway. I said, but if we got to go back to this, what about us who have become plant-based? I said, we got to partake of eating animals? Like, I can't do it. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know if that's going to be the demise of me. I said, but I cannot bring myself to put meat to my mouth anymore. I've been meat-free for, Josh is 10 now. I want to say, I ain't gonna say 10 years, because I think when I got pregnant with Saya, I started eating fish again for a little while. I said, but I've been I've been meat free for a very long time. I said I can't. I just think about the animal and its form before it's slaughtered. I said I can't do it. You know, and I had this conversation. I was like, I don't really understand this part or what. I said, but what I understand now, the way that this is going based on all the information I have, I think the whole slaughtering of the animals portion is like, I think that's, I believe at this point, I think that's going to be done. Like, I don't think we're going to be slaughtering animals anymore, right? Especially when he said he's going to give us a new heart, and you know, and he's going to inscribe the Torah on our hearts, and we're going to keep it, and we're going to love him, and it said we're going to keep it. So there's going to be no need for like slaughtering animals and stuff, right? All that's just going to be we won't have need for it because we'll be walking in obedience, right? So that's the way I look at it. I'm just like, Father, I said, you're going to have to help me here. I said, because if I'm wrong about this, you got to help a sister out. I said, but right now, as I understand it, based on all the information that I had, that's why I say, all the information that I have up to this current day when I'm talking about this is what I understand up to this day. Now, this could change based on more information that I get to see the bigger picture. Not that I'm going to go into the opposite direction, but I'll be able to be more sure and firm and give you the details of why now I'm sure that this is going to happen this way, you know. So, but up until this day, that's what I believe, you know. And my beliefs have changed a lot over the last 3 years from what I used to believe, you know. I thank y'all for what I haven't gone like off the deep end or in another direction. Like some people may think, I'm like, how? Like everything that I've learned comes from this book right here. Like, and just from reading every day. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, y'all. So, Dana, I hope I answered your question. That's what I think about the sacrifices and how they apply to us today. You know, like I said, even in Daniel's time and the prophets, they weren't sacrificing. They were literally just in constant communion with the Most Holy, you know, with Yah. And he spoke to them. He responded to them. Even in that, they didn't offer any sacrifices, you know. So, but it's good that we know the history and see what has happened and why we're where we're at today. So that's my whole take on it. Like I said, based on what I know up until this day. So with that being said, beautiful people, if there's nothing else, we can go ahead and get out of here today. All right. So I love you. I see you bright and early in the morning, 7:15. No, tomorrow's Sunday, so 7:30. But I'll be here about 5 minutes early just to prep and stuff. So, but I see you tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Boo.